All right, so this is a ascending E minor 4-note per string kind of thing. This is very Yngwie Malmsteen kind of inspired. He did this a lot, and a lot of other guitars after that. So essentially, this is going to be all alternate picking, and you'll know if you have perfected it, I would say, by the end of the lick when it becomes the when it comes to the descending part, because you're going to start on an upstroke. So let's go through it again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And all alternate picking. Right there. So, what I tend to do is I try not to think of it as an upstroke starting. I kind of implement like that last note right there. It's like that G flat or the F sharp as a down, up. That kind of helps me get into the mindset of the alternate picking descending, because sometimes if you kind of overthink the upstroke starting, it might mess with you. And then also, you're not going to really realize it until you actually look at it, but you're hitting the outside strings on this part. If you're starting on an upstroke on the descending, your downstroke is hitting it from the outside of the B string. So, and that pretty much follows in the same pattern as when you're descending. So that's something that a lot of guitar players tend to mess up on a lot, is the outside picking. Inside picking can be pretty easy, what we're used to, especially when we're ascending. Right? So when it comes to the outside picking, and that's when it comes pretty crazy. But essentially, that's the tricky part. And then the part around this area when you're ascending. So the here. That note right there, the C sharp, can be kind of hard, especially because the way I'm positioning my hands is I'm doing more of a bar, so I'm jumping like that, pretty quick. So those are the main two parts in this entire lick that seems to be a difficult spot for a lot of people. So I would emphasize on practicing on that. And then the third thing is just making sure that you're just continuing the alternate picking part. This can be as fast as you want it to be, or it can be as slow as you want. It's a great way to really implement both hands to syncopate and get them going. So especially if you mute it. That part. That part's kind of hard to really mute as well, because you're pretty much muting on that very high E right there and starting. So that could be something to work on too. But once you get it down, it's going to really help you out with the pretty much all of your licks. So this one is a neoclassical kind of thing. This is basically like in D minor, and then it changes around into like a natural minor sound. Also, again, pretty much neoclassical, very Yngwie with like the pedal tones. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a pattern here when he was at his peak. So essentially, Same thing. This is going to be an alternate picking exercise, and then also I like to tend to keep this as like an endurance exercise too. So even if you can't play like the entire exercise, it's great to just get the hands to recognize the that kind of a thing. So just to keep it really precise and accurate, and basically go at a speed that's very comfortable for you, and then you can boost it up with like a metronome. So the beginning, it's like this. So each chord is broken down into 2 parts, or you play it twice. So that's one, and then the next part, it's in this like natural minor, right? And then the next section is, sorry, like that, right? And then in the next part, it's gonna be in this. So it's kind of like the crescendo. It's the end, and it's a lot longer, and you're pretty much extending all the way down to the 5th fret until it ends in the D minor. So again, this is going to be it. So essentially, just alternate pick as much as you can. And then the next part. And then the next. And you'll notice that it's the same kind of pattern, but just shifted. And then the next part. That might be a little bit harder because you're having a lot of parts that are moving. So even if you wanted to practice just that last part, you can do that, right? And then that D is basically right there too. So you have options if you want to end right above it, or you can slide right next to it. So I would say out of that whole thing, probably that ending is probably going to be the more difficult part to get clean. And that's pretty much it. This last exercise is a Paul Gilbert, which was inspired by Van Halen. So I would say Van Halen is the first one to kind of pioneer this kind of building lick. So essentially, this one here is also in A minor. So you got this. Right? All alternate picking. That kind of a thing, if you wanted to play it really fast. So that's another lick builder that you can basically do when you're watching TV, or if you're not trying to really focus on like a big project as far as like doing like a big lick or lead to practice your skills, to sync up both hands. Essentially, like with the other one, you can basically do this. And kind of pretty much go as fast as you want, or as long as you want, to kind of sync up the hands. This one too, it's basically the same thing. So you can in that kind of quintuplet. Kind of a thing. But with this, it's it kind of ascends and it goes back and forth. So in this scale, what's really interesting is basically it's the same pattern in 3 different ranges, right? So you got the first one. Sorry. That's the first one. The second one. And then the third. And so with that, sorry. I was in D minor, so let's just shift that a whole step back. So You know, that whole thing. And then you're going to go up. So the next octave. And then the next octave. And then after you're done with that, you're basically going to descend in 6 note groupings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's basically it. It's really great if you're really not comfortable with shapes and patterns, because essentially it's the same thing over and over. You're just moving up, right? So you got, and then you're starting here, and then the third, right? So that note is essentially a double after, and then down again. Down. So it's really great if you like palm mute this too, so you can get that kind of aggression. Like that whole thing. And that's pretty much it. And what's great about that is that you're pretty much playing like every note in the scale, minus I think like the 7th note. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're leaving that right there out, and then you're starting again. And then, right? So yeah, it's cool. You're pretty much playing all of the scale, and then if you want to kind of explore through it, you can basically shift up or shift back. And you can pretty much implement that other first introduction exercise in. Right? Right there. And then upwards. Right there. Right? And then because we are on the B string, I have to pretty much transpose just a half step instead of right above it because of the whole tuning, right? So again, if you wanted to kind of mess around, all right, you can go. And then. Another thing you can do to kind of control your picking in your hand, you can also implement like a legato thing. So you can go like, and basically you can strike the first note and then basically hammer on, and then repeat. And this will give you practice to control when you're striking the note with your hands together, right? And that whole thing. So with this, it doesn't have to technically be all alternate picking. You can just practice with downstrokes and upstrokes. So, you know, that whole thing right there. And, you know, there's really no golden rule to what note you start on and what note you end. However, whatever note you do start on, it's going to dictate the positioning of the alternate picking, whether it's going to be like inside picking and outside picking. So hopefully this helps you out. And then if you do have any more questions, you know where to find me. And yeah.